Hallo Deutschlerner! Today I'm going to get you started on your way to having your very first real German conversation. I'm going to show you a few basic questions and some sample answers to those questions. When you're done watching this video, you should be able to answer all of these questions and substitute in your own personalized responses. If you want to try it out, I encourage you to answer these questions in complete German sentences in the comments. I look forward to learning more about you from your answers. Let's start with the most basic of basic questions. Wie heißen Sie? Wie heißen Sie? What is your name? Or more literally, how are you called? This is obviously the formal version of this question. You could also ask, Wie heißt du? Wie heißt du? If the person you are addressing is a young person or the conversation is taking place online, where most people correspond using the du version of you. You can also use Wie heißt ihr? Wie heißt ihr? Wie heißt ihr? If you are addressing more than one person. In order to answer this question, you would say Ich heiße. Ich heiße. And then your name. If you're answering for yourself and another person, you could say Wir heißen and then both of your names. But it's much more common to introduce yourself as Ich heiße and then your name, followed by Das ist and then the other person's name. For example, Wie heißt du? Ich heiße Levi. Wie heißt ihr? Ich heiße Levi und das ist Sophia. You can also answer this question using a form of the verb sein, which I'll talk about in more detail in a few weeks. The form that you need with ich is bin. Ich bin. So your answer would be Ich bin and then your name. If you're answering for more than one person, you again could say Wir sind and then both of your names, but again, it's more common to split the answer into Ich bin, I am, and then your own name, followed by Das ist and the other person's name. For example, Wie heißt du? Ich bin Levi. Wie heißt ihr? Ich bin Levi und das ist Sophia. While most people will use one of the two versions of the question Wie heißt du that I've already shown you, it's grammatically correct to say Wie ist dein Name, which is a more literal translation of what is your name. Wie ist dein Name? This uses the verb sein too, but this time with the third person singular, sie, es form of the verb, which is ist because mein Name is the subject of the sentence and not ich. Technically speaking, wie also acts as the subject of this sentence because the special nature of sein, which I'll talk about in more depth in a few weeks. Since this version includes a possessive article, you need to be able to change the sentence again based on your audience. Wie ist dein Name? Wie ist dein Name? Is the du version. Wie ist ihr Name? Wie ist ihr Name? Is the sie version. And wie sind eure Namen? Wie sind eure Namen is the ihr version. Keep in mind that the last one is the plural form because it addresses ihr. This is why the verb changes to sind, the possessive article adds an i, eure, and the word Name becomes Namen. The two versions that you need to know to answer this question are Mein Name ist, my name is, and Ihr Name ist, her name is, or Sein Name ist, his name is. Mein Name ist, Ihr Name ist, sein Name ist. For example, Wie ist dein Name? Mein Name ist Levi. Wie sind eure Namen? Mein Name ist Levi und Ihr Name ist Sophia. Or, sein Name ist Fred. While it is possible to ask the question Wer bist du? Or Wer seid ihr? Or even Wer sind Sie? Literally, who are you? I don't recommend this option. It is very rude. Also, you might not get the answer that you desired. It comes off as if you were saying, who do you think you are? Or what are you doing here? In short, stick to Wie heißen Sie? Or Wie ist Ihr Name? Don't forget, until you get to know some people, you should be using the Sie form with most people. If you're going to be using the du form with somebody, you probably don't need to ask for their name. The second question you need to be able to answer is Wie geht es Ihnen? Wie geht es Ihnen? How are you? This is the formal version. For the du version, you would say Wie geht es dir? Wie geht es dir? Often it's shortened just to Wie geht's? Wie geht's? Wie geht's? And the ear version would be Wie geht es euch? Wie geht es euch? You could simply answer with gut, good, gut. And you can follow it up with danke to make it more polite. Gut, danke. Gut, danke. Gut, danke. You can answer this question with one or two words like gut or schlecht, schlecht, which means bad, or nicht schlecht, nicht schlecht, not bad. You can also quantify how well you are doing by using an adverb in front of gut. For example, ganz gut, ganz gut. Ganz gut means quite well. Sehr gut, sehr gut. Sehr gut means very well. Or even nicht gut, nicht gut, nicht gut. Nicht gut means not good. Obviously, you can also substitute schlecht for any of these examples where I used gut. If you were going to answer with a full sentence, you need to start your answer with mir geht es. Mir geht es. For example, mir geht es gut. Mir geht es gut. Mir geht es gut. I'm doing well. Mir geht es schlecht. Mir geht es schlecht. Mir geht es schlecht. I'm doing poorly. Mir geht es nicht schlecht. Mir geht es nicht schlecht. Mir geht es nicht schlecht. Mir geht es prima. Mir geht es prima. Mir geht es prima. I'm doing great. Mir geht es super. Mir geht es super. I'm doing super. If you want a version of these sentences that tell how more than one person is doing, you would replace mir with uns. For instance, uns geht es gut. Uns geht es gut. It's going well for us. As I mentioned before, the question wie geht es dir is often shorted to just wie geht's. When answering, you can also shorten this to mir geht's. Mir geht's. The shortening of these sentences should not be done when using the Z version, and you should be very cautious when using them in any form, as they may give the impression that you're more fluent than you really are. You might have noticed that none of these questions used du, ihr, or sie, and none of the answers used ich. That's because technically speaking, the question is, how is it going? And for each of these answers, you would translate it as, it's going well, or poorly, or great, for me. You wouldn't answer ich bin for this question most of the time, as ich bin gut and ich bin schlecht means I am good, as in not evil, and I am bad, as in not good. Most people would understand what you meant to say, but it's technically not correct. You can answer the question wie geht es dir or wie geht es Ihnen with ich bin if you use a different adjective instead of gut or schlecht. For instance, ich bin müde. Ich bin müde. Ich bin müde. I am tired. Ich bin krank. Ich bin krank. Ich bin krank. I am sick. If you want to answer with wir, we, you would say wir sind instead of ich bin. You can also make a play on words and say es geht, which literally just means it goes, but in English it's more like the expression so-so or alright. Es geht. Es geht. In order to ask the other person how they are in response to the question wie geht es Ihnen or wie geht es dir, you would say und Ihnen for the Z form and und dir for the du version. For example, Guten Tag, wie geht es Ihnen? Mir geht es gut. Und Ihnen? Mir geht es auch gut. Hallo, wie geht's? Ganz gut. Und dir? Nicht schlecht. As a visitor to Germany, you might get the question, woher kommen Sie? Where are you from? Woher kommen Sie? Woher kommen Sie? The du version is woher kommst du? And the ihr version would be woher kommt ihr? Woher kommt ihr? The answer is ich komme aus, ich komme aus, ich komme aus, or wir kommen aus, wir kommen aus, followed by your place of origin. For example, woher kommst du? Ich komme aus Amerika. Woher kommen Sie? Ich komme aus Illinois. Woher kommt ihr? Wir kommen aus Edwardsville. Now you just have to find the German translation of your country's name. You could just say the name of the city, but be prepared for the follow-up question, Wo ist das? Wo ist das? Where is that? If it isn't famous enough, like New York. The answer could be as simple as in Amerika or in Illinois. You could also say in der Nähe von, which is nearby or near something else, in der Nähe von, in der Nähe von, and then a nearby place that might be well known enough that they would get an idea of where you live. For example, Woher kommst du? Ich komme aus Edwardsville. Und wo ist das denn? Edwardsville ist in der Nähe von St. Louis. Und wo liegt das? St. Louis ist in der Mitte der USA. The next question they might ask you is, wie lange bleiben Sie in Deutschland? Wie lange bleiben Sie in Deutschland? Wie lange bleiben Sie in Deutschland? How long are you staying in Germany? The other options would be, wie lange bleibst du in Deutschland? Wie lange bleibst du in Deutschland? Or, wie lange bleibt ihr in Deutschland? Wie lange bleibt ihr in Deutschland? Wie lange bleibt ihr in Deutschland? The answer doesn't have to be overly specific. You could just say ein paar, and then the appropriate amount of time. For example, ein paar Tage, a few days. Ein paar Wochen, a few weeks. Ein paar Monate, a few months. Ein paar Tage. Ein paar Wochen. Ein paar Monate. If you know your numbers in German already, you could say the actual number of days or weeks you are staying. 3 Tage. 3 Tage. 2 Wochen. 2 Wochen. Einen Monat. Einen Monat. If you want to answer this question with a full sentence, you would say ich bleibe, or wir bleiben, followed by the amount of time that you're staying. Ich bleibe 6 Tage. Ich bleibe 6 Tage. Wir bleiben 4 Wochen. Wir bleiben 4 Wochen. Ich bleibe 5 Monate. Ich bleibe 5 Monate. The last question or series of questions on my list for today isn't really a continuation of the conversation example I've shown you so far, but is an important enough question that I think you need to be able to answer it as one of the first questions you ever learn. There are a few variations of this question as well, but you would almost exclusively hear them in the Z form, so I'll only show you those options for these sentences. The question, wie kann ich Ihnen helfen? Wie kann ich Ihnen helfen? Wie kann ich Ihnen helfen? How can I help you? This is the question that you'll be asked when you go to a German store and you're looking around. You can answer with a ton of different options, but the simple ones are the following. Ich schaue mich nur um. Ich schaue mich nur um. Ich möchte mich nur umschauen. Ich möchte mich nur umschauen. Ich brauche Schuhe. Ich brauche Schuhe. Ich möchte einen Döner. Ich möchte einen Döner. If you look like you're looking for something but you can't find it, they might ask you, was suchen Sie? Was suchen Sie? Was suchen Sie? Ich suche. Ich suche. Ich suche ein Buch. Ich suche ein Buch. Ich suche DVDs. Ich suche DVDs. A more generalized question you might hear would be, was möchten Sie? Was möchten Sie? What would you like? It might be ended with another verb like bestellen, bestellen, to order, or kaufen, kaufen, to buy, or haben, haben, to have. But the general question is the same and the answer is the same no matter what. Ich möchte den Rinderbraten. Ich möchte den Rinderbraten. Ich möchte das. Ich möchte das. Ich möchte diese. Ich möchte diese. Now you have the basis for your first German conversation. As I mentioned before, you should try to answer these questions in the comments. In case you didn't take notes, the questions were: Wie heißt du? Wie geht es dir? Woher kommst du? Wie lange bleibst du in Deutschland? Wie kann ich dir helfen? Was suchst du? Or, was möchtest du? These are the do forms that I didn't show you earlier. If you want, you can pretend to be in a store for this one, or you can just simply skip that one. I look forward to reading your answers and learning more about you. If you're looking for more German learning, I've linked some videos over here that you might like. If you want to practice your German in more depth, you can get worksheets for all of these videos that I make on my Patreon page. Das ist alles für heute. Danke fürs Zuschauen. Bis zum nächsten Mal. Tschüss!